We see the start of CNN COVID cover-up, Biden administration now caught directly lying to reporters, and Chuck Schumer blames Trumps for people getting hard-ons. It's January 23rd, and this is your Not So News. Starting us off from TownHall, we have a report that now that Biden is president, CNN's COVID-19 death counter appears to be gone. This is after, for the last year, we've seen nothing but this COVID counter being shared on CNN, and conveniently, once the Biden administration takes office, the numbers have been removed. Caleb Hull here does some reporting and includes screenshots of essentially the coverage under Trump and now under Biden, and the counter that's always been in the corner has been conveniently removed. This, goes to another story that we've been kind of predicting for a while, that from Revolver. Right on cue, as Biden takes office, media and tyrannical Democrats drop lockdown sham. This is what, we almost had it as a meme that as soon as Biden would take office, all these governors would stop their COVID lockdowns and reopen the economy. After we've been told that by Governor Cuomo in New York that we should do whatever we can to save any life, he now reports in a tweet, "We simply cannot stay closed until the vaccine hits critical mass. The cost is too high. We will have nothing left to open. We must reopen the economy, but we must do it smartly and safely." This is what conservatives have been asking to do for the entire last year. Additionally, we have from the Chicago Sun-Times, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said Thursday that seeking to reopen Chicago's bars and restaurants for indoor service as soon as possible. If we look at the various criteria that the state has set, we are meeting most, if not all of these. So that's a conversation that I will have with the governor, she said. We're at a point where we need to be talking about when and not if. Easing restrictions on indoor service would provide a safer outlet for people to socialize and possibly cut down on underground parties where attendees do not social distance or wear masks, she said. Finally, Newsweek has a story that COVID lockdowns have no clear benefit versus voluntary measures, and they cite some study. This is the literal thing that conservatives have been saying for the last year, that the lockdowns are, if anything, probably definitely hurting the economy with little to no gain in terms of COVID. Additionally, we're following up on a story that we had on the first day of Biden's administration, where he did a press conference and they asked a question to EWTN, and Catholic News Agency reports the following. Washington, D.C. press room, January 20th. President Joe Biden's press secretary would not say on Wednesday evening whether the administration will do with current safeguards against taxpayer funding of abortions. When asked Owen Jensen of EWTN News what President Biden's plans regarding the Hyde and Mexico City policy, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki did not give any details on the plan during the press conference. Well, I think we have more to say on the Mexico City policy in the coming days, Psaki said, before adding that Biden is a devout Catholic. But I will take the opportunity to remind all of you that Biden is a devout Catholic and someone who attends church regularly. Psaki told reporters he started his day with attending church this morning. So the obvious implication here is because they're referencing his Catholic faith that he would be taking a Catholic stance on abortion, correct? Wrong. From Vox, we see that in his second week in office, President Biden plans to make it easier for providers around the world to offer the full range of reproductive health care. On January 28th, he reportedly slated to repeal the policy sometimes known as the Global Gag Rule, which bans groups abroad that receive U.S. aid from performing or even discussing abortion, also called the Mexico City policy. It was first enacted by President Reagan in 1984. It became something of a political light switch, turned off by every Democrat and turned on by every Republican. I think the big issue here is that we have another lie that is directly being done by the press secretary, where she says that she doesn't know the stance, and then less than 24 hours a stance is given by the Biden administration. And this gets to another piece by TownHall stating, in no time at all, the Biden team already has the press altering their definition of the truth. In the article, they mention how USA Today raved how the press would not have been seen as an enemy any longer. Business Insider promised incoming press secretary Jen Psaki would be bringing the truth back to the White House. And of course, CNN's Brian Stelter waxed at length on how he hoped the war on truth was over. The journalists in D.C. were all with joy and wonderment and beatific exultations that the truth was returning, transparent would reign supreme, and the American public would be treated with open discourse. Just 2 days that it's all been blasted out of the water. In her first briefing, Psaki was pelted with marshmallow sandbags on how she would handle her job and waken the assault of truth, how she would how the administration was redecorating Air Force One, and one of the more solid questions involved if Christopher Wray would retain his post. Her response that she had not discussed it with the president, but the non-answer sent shockwaves out in DC with speculation. Psaki issued a correction declaring Wray would remain in place, notably not in place, and the media declaring how the administration appeared to be in disarray and not communicating with each other in Trumpian fashion. Yesterday, in her second presser, Psaki displayed what has become her trademark, addressing questions directly while never managing to actually provide an answer. When she was hit with a challenge on the Biden family defying mask orders, we saw this in the White House and at the Lincoln Memorial, she excused her away, using the excuse that it was allowed because it was a permission or it was a celebration. However, when you're celebrating weddings and funerals, we're told that cannot be done because of COVID, and the press accepted it. Note in the difference from when Trump was seen without a mask. Curious, the Bidens were not scolded for politicizing masks. They were not charged with ignoring science, and they certainly were not accused of wanting to kill people. Consistency from the press was already in tatters, but now the truth was threatened as well. This starts, just a consistent gaslighting that you will always see under the press, where blue team is always good, red team always bad. This is just the nature of how we have to report. Next, we see from Yahoo News a blatant false story. They report that Pete Buttigieg is congratulated for being the first openly gay cabinet member. However, this is without a doubt 100% false. Under the Trump administration, Richard Grenell was a cabinet member, was openly gay. The only difference is that Pete Buttigieg had a confirmation hearing. This does not mean that Richard Grenell was not part of the cabinet. He was. He just was serving in his position when his predecessor left the administration. Next, from Turtle Boy, we have reports that police are sitting outside Ayanna Pressley's house in Hyde Park after she requested full-time detail despite calling for defunding the police. From Turtle Boy, we see Congresswoman Ayanna Ringo Starr Pressley has been one of the leaders of the defund the police movement and a frequent critic of police, who she refers to as murderers anytime they have to use their service weapon in defense of the community. However, according to sources in the Boston Police Department, she recently requested from Chief Gross that she have a full-time police detail located outside of her house at 119 Blake Street in Hyde Park. To investigate this, a Turtle rider drove down to see if this was true, and noticed a police officer stationed 2 houses down from her house and another directly across the street. Here we just see the blatant hypocrisy when it comes to following their own rules. Another blatant not following their own rules, we have reported from the New York Post that Twitter refused to remove child porn because it didn't violate policies. In the article, they state Twitter refused to take down widely shared pornographic images and videos of a teenage sex trafficking victim because an investigation didn't find a violation of the company's policies, the scathing lawsuit alleges. The federal suit filed Wednesday by the victim and his mother in the Northern District of California alleges Twitter made money off the clips which showed a 13-year-old engaging in sex acts and are a form of child sexual abuse material or child porn, the suit states. This is after Twitter has been in the news lately for taking down prominent members of political parties, and we see that they're not doing they're using 230 to take down people's political views, but they're not using 230 for taking down what the initial intention was, which was to ban stuff like this. Finally, Chuck Schumer has what I'm assuming is a Freudian slip when commenting on the Trump impeachment. I'm assuming he just has a hard-on for the future breaking of civil liberties. We see the following.
Make no mistake, there will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the insurrection against the United States.
And this is your January 23rd Not So News. Thanks for joining. Please like and subscribe, and have a good one.